Hi there, and welcome back to the channel. So, doing bass today, or I'm at least going to try to, and I'll show you what my bass setup is. But after going home with the machine and listening to the guitar parts, I was pleasantly surprised at how that turned out. Sounds pretty good. I'm glad I pushed the guitar a little bit past the 2 point whatever, like all the way to 3, and got a little bit of grit on there. I think it just helped fill it up a little bit so it's not so pristine and clean. Gave it a little bit of I don't know, like a little more euphony. And then the bass, I can tell, is the missing ingredient for this tune. And I had all kinds of bass ideas. I was trying to make my bass playing better because it's, you know, pretty boring. And but I found with this song that the simpler part is better, and that I was also going to try to play it with my fingers because I had a good time playing the last song with my fingers. I was going to play half of it with my fingers and half without, but I just found that the execution of the pick, the articulation, was what was needed for the tune, just to make it, I don't know, give it a little urgency and just make it pop out. I don't know why, it just sounded better when I was on the pick instead of the fingers, even though I was planning on using my fingers for like most of it and just using the pick for the chorus. But I ended up liking the pick better on all of it. And I'm better on a pick anyway, as far as my bass playing skills. Bass will be played on the Gibson V for Victory bass. And I really like this bass, except for the fact that it's like the heaviest instrument I've ever owned or held. I don't know of any bass guitar that's as heavy as this guitar. I mean, it is just heavy. Heavy. Like every bit of it is heavy. It's got neck dive too. And one of the bad things is that it has this awesome, like, super high fret access. You know, you can go all the way up and you can get down there, because they opened up this thing and made it more asymmetrical. They kind of brought the, looks like a precision, but this is down more. And so that made the horn smaller. So when it sits on your leg, and with this Firebird headstock, you know, it just ding. And it just feels kind of annoying the way it doesn't fully connect with your leg the way a regular P-bass does. So that's the only downside to it. As far as tone and just badassery, it has all that in spades, you know. I bought it for $400. It holds tune perfectly. See, it has a probably a rosewood fretboard, mahogany body. This has the simple non-active electronics, this passive electronics, the one kind of P-bass style pickup, slanted. And it has, you can either run it in parallel or series. Got it in parallel right now, which makes it sound extra fat. So, it's from 1985, by the way. It's the, oh no, 86. 86, yeah. Yeah, it's an 86, and it is the same year as my, no, this actually might, yeah, it's an 86, because my Sonics is an 82. This is an 86, my Custom is an 86 as well. And that's the year I graduated from high school, so it's kind of a cool number. I like having numbers like that to play with. My birth year, 68. My high school graduation year, 86, and it's like an inverse deal. So I usually try to find those numbers. I have a 68 and two 86s, so pretty cool. Alright, and an 85. Got an 85. 80s guitars. Alright, so let me just show you what the part sounds like. And it'll give me another chance to practice it before I start the usual rounds of recording nightmare. So I'm going to put these on. I'll play the tune. I don't know if I'll go all the way through it, but there's a couple spots I've been trying to work on. So I'll probably hit those. Actually, just the whole song. Practiced it, but I always need more. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. so you can see that I had the same challenge I had with the drums and with the guitar. The drums was at the point where I didn't know the challenge, because I thought, oh, I'm just playing this. But because of my slight inconsistencies, which I would probably have, again and again, I'd have to be playing for years to get rid of that kind of stuff, where you just timing is perfect and every beat is the same. So I've got to get in the rhythm of the beats that I made on those whole notes, or half notes, whatever they are, and you have to get synced up with all three of them, and each one's kind of different, has like a different sway to it. But I have a theory that is why these shows suck so much that everybody's going to. Not everybody, but the people that are trying to enjoy themselves and go to these, like the recent tours that are going on, and everybody's obviously using tracks. Get real. I mean, come on. Every one of those bands in that lineup lit up with tracks. And I know why people want to do it, for make the show easier for people. These guys are older. I can tell you, as you get older, it's harder to do 80s and 90s rock. It's like pretty high energy. And there's a point where your body just kind of turns on you. And your mind turns on. Your mind doesn't even want to be there. Not 25 anymore or whatever. But the main reason it sounds so dead and flat is because they're playing to tracks. And if they're even playing. And it's literally like listening to a cool CD at a party. It's nothing's gonna happen. There's not gonna be any changes. There's not gonna be mistakes. There's not gonna be any feels. And that's what makes the difference between like real live music. Go look at the videos of those bands when they're in their prime and playing live. Back when everybody really played live. And it's so cool, like the difference, man. If those bands would just play, just like really play, I think the people would be so much more excited. That's why there's like a pow going over the crowd, like at a funeral, It's like very, seems like everyone's just flat because they're not getting off, because the music's so pre-programmed. Oof, grim. Paying all that money, hundreds, and some people pay like $1,000 to go to some of these big shows to have good seats and everything. And it's kind of like the antithesis of rock and roll, if you ask me. Like rock music, like the original idea of it, like all this expensive stuff, and it being this lame, super lame. All right, so I don't think people are getting their buck's worth. It's like John Lydon said. You ever feel like you're being cheated, Alright, so what I'm going to do here, Pan EQ, that's your friend. I'm going to go to Pan EQ and make sure that track 1, which is where I'm recorded, I'm going direct. Thank God. I don't have to worry about rain, trucks driving by, people banging on the door, maniacs out there making all this noise. I don't have to worry about any of that tonight because I'm plugged in direct. And I really like recording bass direct. It's so much easier than miking it. God, what a nightmare. Alright, so track 1, I've got it at the fader at 100, reverb is off, chorus is off, all the EQ is on 0. Now, I'm going to hit my 17 through 30, no, not 17, 17 through 24 button, the third, what I call my third row. And then I'm going to take the arrow and go all the way over to the master and just check to make sure the master's at 100 too. That's the unity gain on the machine. So that's like flat. You're matching up with other sources, most sources, unless it's a high Z source, which is why you have your high Z button, which is on. So I've got high Z on. I've checked my master with the Pan EQ switch, made sure that was at 100. I made sure that track 1 was at 100. I record with flat EQ, no reverb, no chorus. The reverb here is pretty good because it's super subtle, so you can always add it later, but I don't record with it, that's pointless. And then over on effect, I'm going to turn that on. My algorithm is on bass, and my patch is number 5, tube. and I've got the input screen is on input 1, and then you can edit and make it, whatever. Maybe I'll edit this. Everything's off. Tape comp limiter type off. So that's off. F2 preamp gain is at 55, tone 18, balance level 3-band EQ. So I might boost the bass just a little to 5 from 3 and put the mids on 2. Treble, nah, doesn't matter. Let's see if that, and the mid delay I just did nothing. Let's see if that sounds interesting to have a little bit more EQ bass coming through on that patch. Yeah, I think it gave it a little more bloom, so I'm going to go with it. Alright, so this is easy as far as technicals go. Plugging directly in, as long as your electronics are quiet, bass is in tune, and I'm only playing 2 strings on this part, or 3 strings. I'm assuming it's still good to tune the entire bass. Another amazing instrument that never goes out of tune, hardly ever. I just tune it to make sure, but play this baby all night without checking your tuner. Really nice. This was a survivor of its era. Never had anything done to it. Electronics are the original, never been worked on. Makes a little bit of noise like when you turn it up the volume, but usually leave the volume on 10 when I'm recording, so it's just a great bass. I used to think it was ugly. It's an asymmetrical green bass because it used to be silver, but this is the way it aged. Probably spent a lot of time in smoky clubs in the Atlanta metro area. Like I could picture it playing all over town all through the 70s and 80s. I know the guy who played it, and cool guy, and he was of that era, the 80s in Atlanta, playing out. So I could picture the kind of places this thing played, and I can tell it got a lot of smoke on it because the silver is now green, almost like that government issue color. It's kind of cool. It's starting to grow on me, the Flying V. The government issue Flying V. If I could find one of those for like $1,000 or trade my Sonex for it, I'd probably go for it because I just cannot get with my Sonex. It just does not play right for me. It's too heavy and just toneless. All right, so let's do it. Okay, so I messed up that cue to get back into the third verse, but I wasn't dead on with the boom, boom, boom. So this is probably going to get really boring watching me sit here and do this. Not that every one of these videos is probably boring, but I'm hoping I can just lock in and mesh in on those come downs. All right, here we go. Okay, that time I didn't go dun dun. Let's see if I like it better without it. Hold on one second. Okay, that's the dun dun. Let me go to where I don't do it. I might like it without that part. It might just sound annoying. Let's try it this way without it. Just make it even simpler. Okay, I think it sounds too empty without it, but I might eliminate it the second time around. This on the second part. Try that this time. Just eliminate it on the dum dum. 1, 2, 3. So I think I'm just going to keep doing it because it sounds empty without it. Just have to make sure of these things. Legs are feeling cramped. Oh boy, here we go. Let's try to get this done. just a little off all the way around on the come downs and on the segue. Here we go. Okay, I would have kept that one going, but right on that one, that's the hardest one. The third one, I remember it being very good. Those two, the second one being the worst. I'm going to take a quick step away in hopes that when I come back, the kinks will be worked out. Okay, let's see if just restarting the camera, getting up for literally 5 seconds will be enough to set me straight and get me right on this part. It's really the simplest part ever. Once again, I'm relegated to trying to nail those come downs, those boom, boom. Oh, why did I do that? It's kind of the Achilles heel of the tune, because if you don't nail those, and invariably there'll be a couple that aren't perfect, it's pretty noticeable. But maybe it'll make people feel like something real is at least happening. God, going on stage and like just turning on a CD track and rocking along. Okay, that's one way to take people's money. All right, here we go. Okay, I think that was an okay take. So I'm going to hit project, which saved it. Then I'm going to hit exit, takes it right back. I'm going to hit back, and I'm going to just play it again, see if I can beat it. And if I can't beat it, that was my take. First note might have been too soon. Just make sure I'm okay with that original take. Makes me paranoid. 2, 3. Okay. Here we go. One more. Hopefully. It's only one more. Unless I hear it and it's just terrible and this one's no good either. Okay, I'd already messed it up once. Let's just do a playback and see what we have. See if I feel the need to redo it. Because I could just picture doing this over and over and over again. And the results being not dissimilar. Okay. See what happens. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. very cool. I could do this all night long and go better and better and better. I found two potential little notes that weren't totally hammered down, but they weren't totally hammered down anyway. And I think the bass actually helped the sense that it was a band all coming down on the one. Like, I don't think I'll ever try to do a song like this again by myself, because it is really hard to cue up. Like, picture if you were doing basic tracks and you had your drummer maybe in a glassed off room or off in a section of the room, and you had your guitar player, but they could see each other and cue each other. Well, all of those would have been easy. You'd be queued up together to 1, 2, everybody's like looking at each other, blang, blang. But I'm doing it, you know, the drum is doing one thing, then I'm trying to match it up with my ears to do the guitars, and then the bass has got to get on top of that and all that. So it's not ideal to make arrangements like that when you're playing by yourself, because you don't have anybody to cue on. I tried looking at the light. I tried to like make my hand do the same thing that the drum was doing, so it'd get in the same cadence, you know, same rhythm, same timing, I guess is what you'd call that, you know, lockstep. But V for Victory, because I got a part and I did it with my Gibson Victory bass, which, like I said, is an extraordinary instrument. These are quite good, especially for recording. Like if you want a real heavy tone, like any kind of 90s rock, like, God, man, this would be like the ultimate. I guess this was like a variation of what Chris Novoselic played in Nirvana. He played Victory basses, and what was the other one he always played, that black one? Grabber, or what's that thing called? It's like a Kiss bass. That's the other Gibson bass, but very similar. I think it had the big Thunderbird headstock or Firebird headstock. There's a Thunderbird and a Firebird, so I can't remember which one. And is this is not the reverse. This is the normal one. Sometimes they'll see them and it'll be going the other way. But man, this thing is nice. I wish I could get this green off and see what the silver was like, because I see parts of the silver like right here. I guess maybe because it's rubbed up against me or the other guy who had it. I've never played bass live before. I just play it in the studio. That's why I don't care that it's so heavy. And it gives you like this real, like if you're doing like desert rock or any kind of like heavy rock, metal, grunge, you know, it would be like the ultimate bass for that. And if you're playing metal shows or punk shows or heavy duty shows where people are getting crazed, you've always got yourself a nice weapon. You know, if somebody gets too close, you know, they don't call it an axe for nothing. All right, next time.